Your team scored more goals than it ever had last season, and then you add Mitch Marner. So, what's the add there? What does Mitch Marner bring that you're hoping to capitalize on?
Well, elite talent, one of the best playmakers in the league. But I think, beyond that, a good two-way player that's going to be able to play for Bruce Cassidy. Speed. It gives some speed to our lineup. And it gives us another, real good playmaker on the wing, which was something that we were looking for. We're really strong up the middle. We have been for pretty much our entire existence. Certainly ever since Jack Eichel arrived, and you reposition your other centers, it gave us real strength at that position. But we really wanted to try to add a high end winger, which is what we have done with Mitch Marner.
Do you think you're deeper? You talked about the other acquisitions in the summertime. Do you think you're deeper this year than you were last, or because that's all? Let's face it, that has always been one of the great elements of this franchise is depth and 12 forwards. So where do you stand on that with the group you have now?
I like our forward group a lot. I think that we've got real good high end talent. I think we've got good depth. We really value. The Howdens, the Colasars. I think Colton Sissons is going to be a good addition to our lineup. The return of Riley Smith and Brennan Saad, that they were real good fits when we acquired them last year. And then a lot of the names that are more familiar, the Hurdles, the Stones, and the Carlsons and players like that. Pavel Dorofeyev, who really blossomed last year. So I like our forward group. I think the big change in our hockey club is going to be, the loss of Alex Pietrangelo, not just on the ice, but in the dressing room, off the ice. With everything that he brought to our lineup, we're, comfortable that we've got, a good plan on our blue line with, elevating Zach Whitecloud, elevating Caden Korzak into our lineup, utilizing Ben Hutton more so than what we have in the past, and then the acquisition of Jeremy Lauzon, which I think gives us a really well-defined player in that area. So that's that's how again your training camp is the beginning. Your team evolves over the course of the year. You might have opportunities to improve it. You might have a need to improve it as you go along. But in terms of starting off, we like the makeup of our team with of course mentioning Akira Schmid and Aiden Hill in goal. So we're ready to start that way and see where it takes us.
If you look back, there were some signs there with Alex Pietrangelo that maybe there were some injury issues, questions. But was it a surprise when it actually came to fruition that he was going to have to step back?
By that point, I wasn't surprised. I witnessed the things he had to do to be able to play last year. So I was aware of how challenging it had become for him. We had a really good discussion at our exit meeting, which gave me an idea that he was sure wondering if he was going to be able to continue, and yet I at that time encouraged him to take some time because 2 days after your season ends isn't necessarily the time to make decisions like that. And he just really felt that was what he needed to do just for his day-to-day life. So that's what he decided. I've actually seen lots of Alex here this week around the facility. He feels much better. He feels in a way better place, which I was really happy to hear. And I believe next week Alex wants to talk to the media himself, just to kind of share his decision-making process, where he was, where he is, and hopefully where he will be at some point in the future.
How do you measure how much you miss him?
Well, he was a really good player. He had, I'm sure, a Hall of Fame career. When he got here, that was, a really a big addition in terms of our team trying to become a Stanley Cup champion. He was so integral to that happening. He'd won. First of all, he'd been an NHL captain. So the leadership piece and the the alpha male, the presence in a locker room, or in the lunchroom, or just anywhere, the presence that he has. Tremendous respect from his teammates, and took us to another level. What you realize and what you hope for is that a lot of what Alex stands for, he shared for the years that he played here, and it's passed on, and it becomes a big part of what your culture is. We've had really just really great older players here in terms of leadership, in terms of setting an example, in terms of being good pros for young players to grow up in the same room as. So his presence will be felt here beyond just when he played here. It's going to be felt here as we go on into the future, and we expect him to be around. He's still living in Las Vegas. He's got a young family that's really active in a lot of different things, so he'll spend his time being a father and a husband, and I'm sure we'll see him around the facility lots.
John hasn't been able to spend as much time around Pietrangelo as you and I have, but even I was surprised at what a fascinating individual he is, and just a wonderful guy.
Yeah, I said when we did the media at the end of the year, I honestly have never met another guy like him. He just has got a real magnetism to his personality. You admire him when you know him, and you see how important being a good husband and a good father is to him. And that's what I'm touching on when I say the example he sets for other players in our organization, I think is really impressive.
Is that in the Vegas Golden Knights handbook about character? When you go, and whether it be a free agent, whether you draft, whether you trade, how much character plays a part, rather in balancing talent? I guess I'm trying to say, when you go and try to acquire a player.
Well, it goes right back to our expansion draft, John, and we had the full year, 11 months, I guess, after the time Bill Foley was awarded the team. George was hired the middle of July. I was hired the 1st of August. That following June, we made our selections, and we really were, with our staff, we were looking for hardworking, low ego people. We wanted the same type of makeup to our team. We wanted speed so that we could check. So that was a priority for us as well. But we really, from the beginning, have been fortunate that we've had just a great culture. We've had really good people that believe in doing things the right way, that have humility, that are respectful of people, or respectful of the game, and that's been a staple for us all the way through. So any of the acquisitions we make, not unlike other teams, you do everything you can to have as much background on a player as possible, and I think that we've had really good insight to some of the players we did acquire, and I think they've come here and played real well. And I think our organization has the ability to make people better as well, based on the resources we have here, the people we surround them with, the coaching staff we have, all of those things. We think we're going to help a player be the best player he can be.
The reason I kind of asked that is that you talk about the first couple of years, the delta on your salaries was not very much. Well, it's changed now. I mean, you got guys on minimums, and you got guys making, let me do it, 8 figures, and that is usually a challenge in maintaining that type of culture. But it doesn't seem to have changed in Vegas. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Well, I think when you look at it, John, it's season 9, and I could take the time to go through all 8 seasons and sort of the evolution of how we got to season 6, where we became champions, to where we are now heading into season 9. But I think that the first year was magical. It was had never happened in any sport where an expansion team had that level of success. So I think it was really magical. Interestingly, then, as compared to now, I think then we were everybody's second favorite team. They had they had their own team, and then boy, they sure pulled for those Vegas Golden Knights.
You were Team 8 in Canada, Kelly. I can tell you that.
Exactly. We have seen that change.